well. So, hey, Gia and Envy. My name is Taylor, and I'm a huge fan. You guys are dope, and I love everything about your podcast. You guys give such great advice, and I have many questions I like to ask, but I'm going to ask one that I don't think I've heard you cover. When when do you discuss suicide with your kids?
Mm.
I have an 8-year-old son, an 8-year-old stepson, and a 2-year-old daughter. I know someone close to me who committed suicide about 5 years ago, and it still haunts me. I almost have PTSD because now I'm always worried that someone else is going to do that as well. It terrifies me for my children so much that when it comes to discipline, more so with the older ones, I am constantly second guessing myself. My son is a very tender-hearted little boy and easily gets his feelings hurt. It doesn't help that his dad and I share custody, so I get even more worried when he isn't with me. Do you have any advice on how I could talk to my kids about this? Also, when, age wise, would be a good time? Any advice would be appreciated. I have the worst anxiety about this all of the time. Thank you guys.
Oh.
Okay. I think that is great. And not to throw back to my book, to throw back to our book, but in our book, we talk about this a lot.
In real life, real love.
In real life, real family.
Oh, that too.
Yeah,
But we
actually
talked
both
about
books.
it in
Yeah,
both
actually both books, but we
Yeah.
dive into it as far as our kids are concerned. So I would tell you this: when you break down why a lot of kids feel like they want to commit suicide or want to commit suicide, they usually say it's because low self-esteem. They feel like they're not loved. A lot of times they feel like they're being bullied in school or they are being bullied in school, and they feel like there's no safe space to land or safe place to land, I should say. In Real Life, Real Family, which is our new book that comes out April 16th, for us, we talk about that and we talk about the energy, the love, and the fact that we're always there for our kids so they never feel that way. You know, Gia talked about earlier telling our kids the truth and being honest with our kids. But the main thing that we do is we're there. We try to pick up on those problems before they do or before they realize what's going on. Um, we talk about in the book how we continually love our kids, give them compliments, tell them how beautiful they are, tell them how smart they are, tell them how fast they are, tell them how good they are, tell them how they can be better and how you want to help them be better,
How proud we are
how
of them.
proud we are of them. And we're also in their ish, meaning, I mean, we don't have to tell you that we go to our daughter's dance competitions every weekend. We don't have to tell you that, you know, Gia and I decide which one is going to pick them up from their dance competitions or pick them up from school. We don't have to tell you how locked in we are with Jackson when he plays soccer or Jackson when he plays basketball or Madison that she's doing real estate. We try to help her and talk about everything together and game plan to make her even better. We don't have to talk about how with Peyton, we put her in all these sports. We love her. We hug her. We let her sleep in our bed. Like we do all this together. You know, there's been many a nights when I wanted some fuck time. But
What?
but we couldn't because we had
That's how
four.
you had you. Everything was so great. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So we wanted some
So great.
sex time, but we couldn't because we have 4 kids in our bed. And yes, I'm pissed off and I'm disturbed and you know I got a brick down there, but it doesn't matter because
Awesome.
it's like this is more important. Those nights when we have the kids in our bed and we're watching a movie and we're watching TV and we're
I
just
was
sitting there
like,
talking.
Manny just.
It is what it is. But you know, those put something in your kid that makes them feel better. You want to make sure that if they are being bullied at school, they come to you first. They know how to handle it. They know where the bullying comes from, so they never feel like it's them. You know, you want to give them that confidence. You want to push them to be better so they understand that they can be better. They can be great. Put them in activities where it's it's better for your kids. You know, if your child likes basketball, if your child likes karate, if your child likes soccer, whatever it may be, push them towards that. I know everybody's financial situation isn't the same. So you could say, well, I can't afford, you know, the private lessons. I can't. Well, that might mean mommy or daddy, you go out there and do it. You know, you go out there and play basketball with your son. You know, you don't have to know how to shoot like Curry, but you know how to dribble. Do the dribbling drills with your kids. You know, I don't know how to dance, But I go out there and I act like I know how to dance, and I watch them do their dance moves. I tell them they're great. I tell them to point their feet a little better. Whatever
Brookie,
I
you didn't have your your toes pointed on that jump. You got to
whatever
make sure you point them on that jump, Brookie.
whatever I hear their teacher say, I say, even if they don't do it. Point your toes a little more. Like those are the type of things that they remember. And those are the type of things that hopefully will take those thoughts out of any child's mind. Now, everything is not perfect. So you can do all that and maybe it could still happen. But the more you're on your kids, the more you see what they do, the more you walk in their room when they're playing Fortnite online, the more you're on their room when they do all those things, that makes things better. You know why people say, well, your son is online and he plays these video games. You know why it doesn't bother me as much? Because a lot of the times he's playing with his sister and not the little sister. He's playing with
Madison.
Madison. Him and Madison are on the thing playing together. And these are some of the things that we do. We play games. We play Monopoly. We play Uno. We play Taboo and word games and all those type of things because we try to do it as a family. We do it together. So if one is hurt, we're all hurt. And hopefully, like I said, I'm not the judge and jury when it comes to raising parents, but we kind of got a good footing because we've been doing it a bunch of years, 23 years. But those are the reasons where we haven't had those conversations. And when things are down, you attack it. You don't ignore it. You don't ignore those tough conversations. What do you say? I know I talk a lot, but
That's good. For me, raising happy children, um, I don't want to say that's easy, but it starts in a particular place. And it's by making your children feel important. It's by making your children feel interesting. When you show your children that you're interested in them, they feel worthy. They feel happy. Think about some of your friends. One thing that I do have to say, I do have to say that I pride myself in is being a good listener because I'm an active listener.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how interesting or uninteresting your story or your recount of something is. When you are talking to me, you have my undivided attention. And I am going to give you all of the verbal and nonverbal cues to let you know that I am locked in. And what I notice from my friends and my family alike is that nothing makes them happier because I didn't realize it, but that is something that most people don't get from most people. When I sit at a dinner table, I can be out to eat with a bunch of girlfriends, and you'll see a person telling a story and trying to get through a story.
Mhm.
And you can see in the people's eyes at the table who's interested, who's not interested, who's thinking about someone else, something else, who's daydreaming, whose mind is wandering, who picks up their phone and is just looking up like, yeah, really? Oh, yeah, that's crazy. A word? Yeah, yeah. It's just most people don't command the attention of those around them. And when they find someone that pays attention to them, that's going to be your best friend.
Mhm.
And there's nothing any different with your children. When you pay attention to them and you actively listen and you engage and you ask questions, your children will not only feel worthy, but they'll also feel loved. And if you have a child that feels loved, I think that a topic like suicide is something that may very well be the least of your concerns. You submerge yourself into your children. That's a gift that no one else is going to be able to give them.
Mhm.
It makes home that place that they love to be because they're going to get all the attention and they are going to feel like they are worthy. So when my kids come home, boy, do I hear some stories. I
Mhm.
sit there. That is my job. That is my job as mom. My job is to actively listen. And again, whether I'm interested or not, they are not going to know.
That's right.
And listen, every story is not interesting. Every story
Believe
is
me,
not
I know.
interesting. But sometimes, if my mind naturally does want to start wandering, I have to coach myself back into it. Like, no, yeah, don't let it slip. Like, give a nonverbal cue, smile, lean in, nod, and be like, really? Now ask a question. And I'm going to ask a question. I'm not saying that you have to be naturally engaged or you're going to love everything that they're telling you. I want to entertain every question they ask you, but you do it because you are their mom or because you are their dad. And when you do it, I don't think that you're going to have to worry about something like suicide. But to answer your question directly, when do I think is the proper age to discuss that with your child? I don't think that there's a proper age. I think by the age of 8, I think they probably are mentally equipped to understand
Yep.
what the ending of one's own life is. But I wouldn't have that conversation with the child unless I had a concern.
Mhm.
Unless I had a concern up until maybe they were maybe 12 years old. When you're 12 years old, I feel as though you're mature enough of a child
To understand.
to handle, not to just understand, but to handle that type of conversation. 8 years old is old enough if I'm having a concern, if I feel as though my child is dejected, if I feel as though my child is not happy, if I feel as though my child is being bullied or is having self-esteem or security issues. Things, if I feel as though they're on a trajectory and they may head down that road, then I may sit down and I'm not going to start with suicide. I'm going to start asking questions about their feelings and what they're going through, their experiences, their level of happiness or lack thereof. I'm going to get all of that information. Then I'm going to seek therapy. And then I may have therapy for myself so I can learn how to deal with a child that may be on that trajectory.
Mhm.
But it's not something I'm just going to sit down and explain to them. For me, it's going to be a series of steps so I can get them to where they need to be mentally and emotionally. So that's how I would handle it. I wouldn't say, you know what, now you're 8. I think that let's just have this random conversation, even though it's not well placed. Only if it's necessary, only at the proper age for understanding and for handling it.
That's right.